Okay, so recently I had this audition for this, it's called like Urban Horror Stories. It's like a Japanese film. And on the one of the website, they said that for wardrobe I had to dress up as one of the Japanese girls. I was like, okay, that's weird. So I get to the audition and like you have to sign in and stuff, and I go in there and I sit down. There's like three Japanese guys. They don't really speak English, and then they said like the whole thing is improv, so you don't have any sides or anything. So I thought that was pretty weird. But anyway, and so I sit down in the chair and they're talking to me, and then they say like schedule, and I'm like, what? I'm just like so confused. Like, what do you want me to do like with that? What type of weapon is it? And then they're like schedule. I'm like, I don't what type of, is it like samurai whatever thing? And then they're like, no, schedule. I'm like, oh, okay, schedule. And so I give them my schedule, and then they say, okay, now go outside the door and you have to like perform like improv. Just imagine that your sister is going crazy, and then just like improv. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so they get one of the Japanese guys. He gets like on the floor, and he's like freaking out and like rolling his eyes and just being weird and like, I don't know, just so odd. And so I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, oh, calm down, you need to relax, whatever. And then he's just like freaking out and like, oh, so bad. And he like rolls his eyes and then like, and he like dies. And so they're like, okay, so your sister, and then they tell me like, your sister died. And I'm like, and then like, because they didn't say like what kind of emotion they want. So like, so I started crying because that's if my sister would have died, I would have done that. So I started crying, and then they're like louder. I'm like, okay, I'll cry louder. Like this is so odd, and I do that, and then they say, okay, thank you, and then I like leave.